Major news happening right now as we are getting video footage of massive troop mobilizations all throughout the country. There are two major news stories breaking right now and one theory that may actually connect them that we will be discussing in this video by an independent media organization that is not a shill for either the left or right gang members, or as they like to call themselves, politicians, but we don't support any of that mafioso crime because we're supported by you. And one way you could support us is by checking out our travel hacking workshop that's going to be happening the day after Anarchapulco, February 17th. If you want to go to Anarchapulco, don't forget to use the promo code WRC, the promo code to get 10 to 15% off tickets. And if you're there, hell, check out our workshop if you're interested in having a travel digital nomad lifestyle like I have. Ticket prices will be going up closer to the date of the actual workshop, so check it out by clicking the link in the description below. Now, I think it's important to point out that throughout all this madness unfolding with Iran, that we finally get some sort of evidence and information regarding Jeffrey Epstein. You know, the guy connected to the top echelons of Hollywood, politics, and tech that ran a global trafficking operations of thousands of children, as he was connected to many intelligence agencies who most likely were running an extortion racket. Yeah, that guy? Well, finally, we got photos revealed from his autopsy that again raise more questions than answers and also contradict the official story, with even 60 Minutes commenting about the possibility of a fake news, with many experts chiming in saying that it's not possible that Epstein allegedly committed suicide with this particular news. There's also electrical cables viewed in his room, which raise more questions and doubts to what happened, as well as graphic images, which we can't show you here on YouTube because YouTube will punish us for showing you graphic footage. CNN literally gets to eat human brain on their program, which they did, and they get promoted. We can't even show you news-related topics, but whatever, that's fine. But just know there's graphic footage showing multiple lacerations, multiple attempts on Jeffrey Epstein's neck, which many people say is indicative of an attack on him. And you see multiple lines going down his neck. You see also bruising along this line. You also see a needle point in his arm. So again, way more questions than answers regarding the latest photos and videos that finally have been released, with only few people in the establishment willing to ask questions, like Ricky Gervais, who should be applauded, should be congratulated, should actually even potentially run to be president of the United States for calling out important details about Jeffrey Epstein to many of Epstein's friends and cohorts, and that is Hollywood that grimaced and awed in pain after being reminded by Ricky Gervais at the Golden Globes that Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself. He was well connected in Hollywood, a place where people would sell their souls for money. I'm ad-libbing that last part, but essentially that's what he said. And the points that he specifically brought up were very honest points, as again, many people in Hollywood, not just politics, but specifically Hollywood, were well connected with Epstein, as well as also almost anyone and everyone in a major position of power in the tech industry who, you know, were just casually connected to Jeffrey Epstein. Now, in relation to this, we have some people speculating and theorizing that there might be a connection from the Epstein intelligence-connected extortion racket to some of the erratic behavior by U.S. President Donald Trump. Now, as we know, the relations between Donald Trump and Epstein have been very contested by some, have been proven as fact by others, but it is very clear that the two definitely knew each other. And depending on where you stand, if you're a supporter of him, you're going to believe that Trump was, of course, not connected with Epstein in any way. If you don't like Trump, you're going to think he was definitely connected with Epstein. But again, it's clear that the two had a connection. How connected, that's up for debate. But when you look at Trump's latest geopolitical, very aggressive moves that favor Saudi Arabia and Israel two countries that Jeffrey Epstein was very well connected to. Epstein also had a Saudi Arabian passport that he was caught with, connections to the Saudi prince, and also, of course, Mossad. And when you look at Trump's actions, with even major allies calling it reckless, and even the advisor of the president of Iran specifically saying that he has zero problems with the American people, that quote, "We have even achieved deals with previous U.S. administrations," quote, "Our sole problem is Trump. In the event of war, it is he who will bear full responsibility." Now, when you look at all that and the erratic, reckless geopolitical actions by Trump, some people believe that he might be getting extorted with blackmail, potentially from Epstein, by an intelligence agency that has it, either Mossad or the ones connected with the Saudi crown prince, to launch these very aggressive actions that benefit them. Again, this is just a theory, it is a speculation, but it is a conversation that is happening online that I do believe is worth entertaining and conversing about. So, what do you think about this theory? Let me know in the comment section down below. I'd be very curious to see your take on this interesting concept unfolding right now. But moving forward with more Iranian news, we got the announcement by their government that they no longer will be abiding by the nuclear deal, which they had with the previous administrations, which they were keeping up, according to them, up until this point. This, of course, is the Iran nuclear deal that Donald Trump walked away from a couple months ago, that Iran said it was still abiding by up until this very moment, and that it will restart its civilian nuclear program. The Iranian president's advisor actually shared an article with the list of Trump properties after the statement that we just read to you. This after also Iran put out an $80 million bounty on the head of Donald Trump. In response to a lot of these aggressive actions, Donald Trump has been firing back as well, and he is now also claiming that his, quote, posts on Twitter now count as official notification to Congress about any war. It's also important to note that Israeli government officials got a warning of this impending attack while Congress did not. And of course, I'm talking about the assassination of the Iranian general by US drone strike. But now Congress and the world will have to follow Donald Trump on Twitter to get the announcement if there is a direct attack on Iran. Since again, also a lot of people have been getting this kind of talking point wrong. It's not that we're waiting to be at war. We have already been at war. We are already in war in Yemen, in Syria, in many other places all throughout the world, with proxy armies being funded, armed, and trained, or even direct incidences of Iranian and US-backed forces engaging and fighting with each other. The war has already been happening. It hasn't spilled over to a direct major conflict just yet. And the Iraqis don't want any of it, with them voting recently to kick out all of the US troops from its country. Democratically doing so, with Donald Trump saying nope, that will not be happening, as he threatened Iraq with sanctions, and says that the United States will not be leaving until Iraq pays back for an air base that they never wanted themselves, that the United States literally just built there on its own volition. And the United States military, after officially being kicked out by the Iraqis parliament in a democratic vote, just said, no, we're not going to respect your wishes and democratic decisions here that your government made. But I thought the whole idea was to give Iraq democracy. And now we're not respecting their democracy. Yeah. This is extremely bad optics for the United States, especially on the international world stage. And optics are very, very important here, as even Hezbollah has come out and officially said that only U.S. military personnel should be targeted in any retaliatory attacks against this assassination, and not innocent civilians. And Donald Trump literally, in a tweet, talked about how the United States just spent $2 trillion on the best military might that it will be sending to the Middle East to target their cultural sites, which is civilian targets that has civilians occupying it and not the military. Literally taking a page out of the ISIS handbook and saying that they're going to go after a country's history and culture. Even going on and saying that he will strike back in a disproportionate manner, which again, when frickin' Hezbollah is saying, let's not kill any innocent civilians, and the president is saying, let's go after the cultural sites, these are the worst optics. This is the worst public relations that you could have. And I don't know how any clear-headed, clear-minded individual who's not either extremely low IQ or extremely idiotic could still support such egregious actions. And Trump is doubling down, reiterating the threats again against cultural sites in a second statement, saying that the cultural sites are fair game. Even the Secretary of State contradicted him and said that the United States would only strike lawful targets, but Donald Trump again reiterated that nope, that's not going to be happening here. We're going after heritage, historical, cultural sites that have civilians in them. Now, as we're speaking, the funeral for this assassinated Iranian general is being held right now, with video footage coming out showing incredibly huge, massive public demonstrations of people wearing black in support, in mourning of this Iranian general that many people from that region saw as a hero. And the footage that is being released, especially from this helicopter footage, shows a very, very significant crowd. We've seen very similar crowds in Iraq with the Iraqi government even officially participating in them. And we are seeing people who clearly have come out in droves. Now, there's some people accusing the Iranian government of forcing people out to show support, but again, I haven't been able to independently verify those accusations against the actual video footage of all of these people wearing black, and it's impossible to determine those accusations, whether these people are being forced to be out there. But from everything that I'm seeing, those are allegations that are not true. Now, compare this footage with some people even saying millions of people in the streets, with this footage showing a few dozen Iraqis allegedly celebrating, that was released officially by the Secretary of State, saying that people are dancing in the streets for freedom, thankful that this Iranian general is no more. When you compare the two, there's a big difference. There's a lot of optics here. There's a lot of public relations here. There's a lot of things that people from the outside of the Western mainstream media controlled matrix are looking at that we're not seeing as Americans, that do deserve to be put in context, that do deserve to have a conversation that sadly no one else is having other than censored independent media like the video that you're watching right now. And again, even according to the New York Times, these people just came out for 2 minutes and ran away, being a part of a larger demonstration that of course was very unhappy about the latest US actions in that specific region. We're also finding out that according to Iraqi and Iranian government forces, that this Iranian general was actually requested by Trump to meet for mediation and thought he was going towards a peace deal, thought he was going to negotiate a better deal for his country with the United States. And allegedly, according to these Iranian and Iraqi sources, he was then assassinated after being presented these false illusions, specifically from the Iraqi government, that was used here to allegedly lure this Iranian general to their country so they could assassinate him on their soil. A development that a lot of people in Iraq are hearing, but I have yet to see it being reported in the Western mainstream media. And again, this Iranian general was a part of organizing and training forces that actually worked with the United States in Afghanistan. He worked with Iraqi forces fighting off, again, Al-Qaeda in that specific region. In Afghanistan, obviously fighting off Al-Qaeda. He is known in the Middle East for being a large part of defeating ISIS, and now he was assassinated when he was on a peace mission. I mean, the optics here, the truth here from outside looking in are absolutely horrendous. Now, of course, this man wasn't Mother Teresa. He wasn't a peace activist. He was a military general, a very successful one at that, in a military fashion that was pushing for his country's interests at all costs. There's no denying that. And again, I have to once again say, being anti-war does not make you pro-Iran. I am not a fan of any government, and it's important to highlight that here, since there's a lot of propaganda and disinformation against the voices who, of course, are giving you both sides of the story, which we are trying to do here. And as an American, I'm sick of the endless wars. Every president in my recent experiences has always promised to be anti-war, but has always done the bidding of the military-industrial complex and has expanded the U.S. war machine in ways that are just absolutely ridiculous. Ever since I could remember, just like even YouTube personality Ethan Klein, I can't believe I'm even mentioning him, but he made a good point, saying that, quote, bragging about spending $2 trillion on tanks when people can't pay for healthcare or school lunches is sick beyond belief, saying, quote, trillions of dollars burned in a giant pile instead of investing in the betterment of life. Why? Question mark. And that's a good question that a lot of people should be asking themselves, especially the people who are somehow, in some way, after all of these horrible optics, still supporting Donald Trump. Now, it's very interesting that whenever I, do my videos, there's always a different kind of group that either hates me or loves me. A lot of the right-wingers were always very supportive of me when I was going up against the deep state, the intelligence agencies, when I was going up against a lot of the ridiculous stuff that they were doing. And now all of them are angry at me. All of them are literally hate tweeting me right now because I'm going against the deep state intelligence agency connected propaganda that now Donald Trump is okay with. And this is something that is asinine. This is something that is ignorant. I have principles. I have virtues. They stand with peace. They stand with being anti-war. They stand with the truth. And they stand with the decentralization of power and prosperity of people to move forward with free and honest, truthful conversations, informing the general public, giving them that information to empower them to make their own individual decisions so they could be responsible for themselves, not a thug middleman. That is my philosophy. That is my core belief. And that is something that hasn't wavered, hasn't changed, and never will, no matter how many comments, no matter how many hate tweets, no matter how many MAGA-tards come at me, because this is who I am, regardless of the cost that it is to me, to my subscribers, to my bank account, to my fame, whatever, all that other crap doesn't matter. What matters at the end of the day is speaking your truth. This is why I'm here. This is why you allow me to do this, just by simply sharing this video. And the few people that do and get past the YouTube censorship efforts, sincerely, thank you from the bottom of my heart for allowing that to happen. Stay tuned for more here on wearechange.org.